use all the different ways that Allah has blessed us and bestowed upon us, all the different forms of shifa. We've explored herbs, we've spoke about food, and we've tried to cram so much into an hour show. So alhamdulillah, it's been a very it's been a very good 3 weeks, and today, inshallah, it's nice to be able to kind of close those 3 weeks with a space of kind of I don't know. I think it's a space of kind of just reconnecting, and a space of actually summarizing a lot of the different things. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The today's show is kind of like a wrapping up show. Today's show, I really thought it would be very beautiful to kind of go back to the roots, pun intended, go back to the roots of what it is to be a healer, because I think it's very easy to get into a pattern of turning and using herbal medicine and alternative medicines in the very similar way, or the exact same way that we use conventional medicine. So just like the way we go to the doctors and we kind of look for kind of fast acting medicine. Okay, I need something. I need a pill for this. I need a pill for that. I need a pill for this. I think it's very easy to treat herbs and foods in the very same way. Oh, I need a herb for this. I need a herb for that. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. And one of the first things, actually, it's not one of the first things that I learned. My journey as a healer has been up and down. But one of the things I've learned on my journey, for sure, is the importance of reconnecting to Allah. It sounds so simple, but this is like one of the most important things. And that's what I thought would be a really nice way of reflecting and having that discussion today. A little bit about my journey, as I've mentioned it. I studied Western herbal medicine a good 10, in actual fact, maybe a bit more. I always get confused, but about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago. Initially, for a very young age, I wanted to go into medicine. I wanted to study conventional medicine and going to be a doctor. All of my GCSEs, my A-levels were kind of geared into going down that road. And just as I was about to kind of start to make applications for medical school, it's a big commitment, and there was like a tiny, tiny seed of doubt in my heart, because I kept on thinking, oh, I want to go into medicine, but make it different. I want to make it different because, you know, I was never very keen on the idea of pharmaceutical drugs and just the pharmaceutical drug company. So yeah, Bismillah. So I kind of, just before I was about to graduate, I spoke to my teacher, my sheikh, and he really advised, he said, you know, he really advised to do healing, but to do medicine, but do prophetic medicine. And it's that's taken me on the journey of finding different ways of actually studying prophetic medicine. So alhamdulillah, that's what's brought me here today. I'm still on this journey, by all means. If anybody ever tells you that the journey of healing and the journey of herbal medicine ever ends, then that's a big lie. The path of learning should never end, never end. So Bismillah ar-Rahman, one of the things I learnt on my journey, and I learnt this, as cheesy as this sounds, I learnt this when I was back in, a few years ago. I was really honoured to go and spend a few months in Ghana and do a little bit of kind of be in a space of learning from the communities out there. And I met a herbalist, and I was really excited. I was like, yeah, let's go out and find herbs in the bush. So we went out, and he was showing me how he collected certain parts of the plants and certain parts of the tree, particularly this time it was a tree. And one of the things that caught me off guard, this was a Muslim herbalist. Before he started to take the bark off the tree, he said, we always make dua, right? He said, we always make dua. We always, before we even go into a space of taking anything from the tree, we always thank Allah. We're in a space of gratitude, so we thank Allah and we ask Allah for this piece that we're taking to be a means of shifa. And it really resonated with me. It kind of shocked me. I was just like, what? I've been in a space of like learning this for like 3-4 years, and I completely separated the study of herbal medicine from my own religion, from Allah. And it was that experience that kind of started this journey on reconnecting and almost relearning my entire herbal medicine way. And one of the first things I realized was that there's no way for me and for others to be healers, to be herbalists, without having an understanding of Allah, and without being in a space of striving to connect to Allah, and striving to know Allah, and striving to love Allah, because everything is just Allah. Everything is Allah. And one of my ways of doing that is through nature, is honestly through nature. And the Quran, subhanAllah, is full of so much beauty and so much. I remember I was listening to an amazing talk by Sayyid Hussein Nasr, and he mentioned that out of all of the sacred texts, the Quran is one of the books that mentions nature the most. One of the books that mentions nature the most. And like that's not a difficult thing for any of us, regardless of our relationship with the Quran, to kind of agree with. We can sit and, you know, from the top of my head, we can come up with, you know, there's a surah called the fig, the olive. We speak about the moon. We speak about the sun. There's so much in the Quran constantly that Allah is referring to in the Quran, for us to look at the ayahs of the Quran, look at the signs of Allah, the ayahs of the Quran in the book, but then also the ayahs, the signs that Allah is showing us in nature. And for me, that was like a light bulb moment. And it's not like it's anything new to Islam, but it's this idea of me being a practicing Muslim, me being somebody who's stepping into the path of healing, I really need to make sure my connection with Allah and connection with the Quran is something that I'm working on. Because it's very, very difficult to heal oneself, and very, very difficult to heal others if we don't have an understanding or have a connection to Allah and connection to the Quran, which are the healers. Allah is the healer. Allah is the shifa, the ultimate healer. All healing comes from Allah, and it's just a way of us connecting to that. So with that in mind, one of the things that we've been doing as part of my work as a herbalist, but then also as part of my work with the Rabbani Project, which is a platform that creates different workshops, events, retreats about spirituality and creativity, is that 2 years ago we did our first Muslim Ladies Green Deen retreat. And we took 11 ladies out into the wilderness. We took them all the way to Wales, and we spent 3 days exploring and connecting with the Quran, and using the Quran and the ayahs of the Quran to see the ayahs in nature, see the signs in nature. And it was amazing. I was going to say it was phenomenal. SubhanAllah. I think it's something that a lot of the ladies who attended are still reflecting upon and still learning from, and still in the space of gratitude. And I'm so, SubhanAllah, as am I. And this year we decided to repeat it again. And we took this time about 17 Muslim ladies, and we spent 3 days, not too far from London this time, but just away from the cities, away from the places that had taken us away from Allah, and we put ourselves in nature. And it's in nature that we find that a lot of the prophets, a lot of the saints, the awliya, whenever they go into a space of itikaf or khalwa, you always find that they were in nature. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ went high up into the mountains. And we can look at so many numerous examples of the awliya who always went into nature to be able to find themselves. And by knowing yourselves, then you know Allah, and to find Allah. So this year we took 17 ladies in March, and we went out, and it was a very, very beautiful experience, alhamdulillah. And alhamdulillah, I feel even more blessed that inshallah we'll have somebody join us a sister Nafisa, to join us and have a conversation and a bit of reflections from her time. I think it's best just to hear it from those that attended, instead of me telling you how great it was, because I'm a little bit biased, and you just put me in nature and I'm just going to be like, alhamdulillah, this is great. I'll just be happy. So inshallah, we're going to go on a quick break, and when we get back, we'll be having a conversation with Nafisa Kara, who's one of our attendees at this year's retreat. So inshallah, join us after a break. Assalamu alaikum.
Personal injury, landlord and tenant disputes and employment law. Visit us at 602A High Road, 7 Kings, Ilford, IG3 8BU, or call 0207 183 5439. Reliance Solicitors, where every client matters.
Bridge & Solicitors in Ilford, the name you can trust. We provide services in immigration, family law, landlord and tenant matters, commercial leases and civil litigation. We also deal in personal injury claim and road traffic accidents. Call us on 0203 475 4545. Visit us at 170 Cranbrook Road, Ilford, IG1 4LX.
Through Minhaj Welfare Foundation, your giving saves lives. Your support has provided more than 3 million people with access to clean and safe water, emergency relief in natural disaster and crisis-affected areas around the world, supported orphans and needy children with a better future. This year, your help can do more. Donate your zakat, sadaqah and charitable donations to any of your chosen projects. Call now on 0300 30 30 777 or visit us at minhajwelfare.org.
Ramadan FM
2018.
The voice of British Muslims.
Atlantic Distributions. Whether it is frozen fish, marinated Lahori masala fish or lamb offals, we have them available at very competitive prices. We are wholesale suppliers to restaurants, butchers and caterers. Visit us at 51 to 53 Upton Lane, London E7 9PA. Contact us on 07415 474 185.
Usman needs the...
So, assalamu alaikum. I'm back on Allah, I can hardly speak today, subhanAllah. Ramadan FM 2018. And inshallah, just before our short break, I did mention that inshallah we'll be joined by Nafisa Kara, who is actually the founder of an incredible project called the Islamic History Project. Please do check it out, islamichistory.co.uk. And we were really, really blessed to have Nafisa with us on our retreat in March, amongst some of the other incredible ladies. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, Nafisa.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. I always get very nervous when it comes to anything technical, when it comes to these kind of button pressings and pushing and like moving little kind of things on this machine. So I'm so happy that this worked and that I can hear you. How are you, Nafisa?
Oh, alhamdulillah, I'm great. How are you?
I'm very, very good. Alhamdulillah. I'm very, very good. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So I was just speaking to the listeners and just explaining really very briefly about the retreat that we did back in, I believe it was in March. I just wanted to hear it from you. I think it would be really nice, instead of everybody listening to me go on about how much nature is so great and how I love nature and how the retreat was amazing and this and that. I just thought it'd be really nice to kind of for you to just tell us a little bit about what kind of, because obviously I didn't mention to the listeners that we all kind of, everybody had to make an application to attend. So I'm really interested in what kind of inspired you or drove you to initially kind of make that step towards coming to the Green Dean retreat.
I think that my journey into like living a more greener lifestyle has started probably about 3 years ago, and since then I've tried to kind of adhere to like an organic diet and to reduce like my meat intake, be more conscious of like eating and consuming organic and free range meats, and just trying to kind of like reduce my waste and just kind of like embracing these kind of green aspects of living. But I think when I applied, I think my main motivation behind trying to live in a green way is because I very much believe that Islam is like a religion of justice, and justice is what love looks like on a societal level, and to be loving is to be just. So yes, that's always my motivation when I do anything that's to do with the Green Dean, or even when I was applying, for example. I just feel that, you know, we need to be more just in the way, in our relationship with the land, with nature, yes, like with produce. And I feel that, you know, like the scholars, they always say that, you know, our relationship with the natural world is a reflection of us spiritually.
Yes.
And
yes,
I felt that I just needed to take it up a notch, and just kind of like, I wanted to, inshallah, like meet like-minded sisters who could help me on this journey and teach me. And subhanAllah, it was an amazing retreat. It was absolutely amazing.
Alhamdulillah, I'm really glad to hear that. What kind of things, just to give everybody a bit of an idea about the sort of activities, or when we say Green Dean retreat, what does that exactly involve for you?
So I think like the main focus of the retreat was finding ways to connect with Allah through nature, So there was a few kind of different creative and natural ways that we did this. Like we did meditation out in the woods. We were assigned like different names of Allah, and we were like sent out into the wilderness to kind of like ponder on these names, subhanallah, and just these activities that we were doing, like waking up for tahajjud together, like praying fajr together in congregation, reading our morning azkar, like all these things we were doing as a group, and then linking it to nature, so going for a meditation walk after we prayed. I think it was just so incredibly powerful and spiritual, and like for me, it actually transformed like the way I was feeling in my iman at the time, because I just needed to be in that natural space and that space of silence. We did a lot of silence as well, like when we were meditating and when we were walking. A lot of it was in silence, and I found that very beneficial.
Alhamdulillah, it's, you know what, I must say, it's so beautiful, and I'm sure it was very similar for you to have that experience of having another Muslim sister, particularly, who is expressing very similar kind of outlook when it comes to nature. Because I think one of the things we had a lot of feedback on this particular retreat, and the idea of when we speak about nature, is that it tends to be quite lonely for those of us who are Muslim and who are very green in our ways and the ways that we think, because it's very big in the Buddhist kind of understanding of their practice. Very big in the Buddhist practice, and similar in some cases when it comes to kind of the Hindu practice. But for whatever reason, the Muslim, because it's in Islam, but the Muslim practice seems to have maybe taken a big backseat. And I'm just intrigued as to why do you think that is?
Yes, subhanAllah, like I was thinking about this just earlier. You know, in the Quran, like you mentioned earlier, there are so many verses, subhanAllah, on like instructing us to like go out into nature, ponder on nature, like seek Allah through the natural world. And it's just like, actually, like when I came back from the retreat, I was shocked myself that why has it taken me like, you know, like 26 years to actually go out into nature in a group and with like-minded Muslim sisters and have this experience. And I think that we need to, inshallah, make more efforts to kind of teach our children and the youth and integrate this into part of our like tradition, because it is part of our tradition, like, exactly like what you said, like the prophets, the saints, the awliya, you know, they go into nature, they seek Allah through nature, and it's in our Quran that we should do this. So I think, you know, inshallah, in the future, we need to make more efforts to facilitate these types of trips.
Yes, for sure. I can't disagree with anything that you're saying at all. I'm just like, yes, truth. If I could drop the mic, I would really like drop this mic and just be like, yes, everything you're saying it's so on point. So yeah, I'm glad you kind of mentioned that idea of it's there, but it's just about us as Muslims and perhaps some of the kind of our leaders, our community leaders, and our religious leaders, perhaps bringing it more to the forefront. My teacher, inshallah. A lot of my teachers a lot of scholars are speaking about it now because of the environmental crisis. There's so much more that needs to be done. There's so much more that needs to kind of be embedded within our practice as well. One thing we did mention, and this wasn't the initial plan, I must say. I'll put it out there now. But the first time we did this retreat back in last year, the idea was to create a space where we could have Muslims who would be able to connect to nature. We could connect to the Quran, connect to Allah, connect to each other. And we kind of opened it up and we thought, you know what, maybe we could, it's just Muslims. We just want Muslims. So Muslim brothers, Muslim sisters will make it into a very family-orientated thing. And subhanAllah, it just turned out that the more we kind of stepped into what we wanted to do, the more we realized, actually, there's a really powerful there's a powerful idea and a powerful movement of women particularly who are in need of this, and most of the time it's the women who actually showed an interest in this. That's another question, because I don't understand why whenever we do these things, a lot of these spiritual events, a lot of these religious events, it's a lot of women that are turning up. I'm not going to ask you why you think that is, unless you want to share that, I'm sure, but I have no idea why this is the case. But I just want you to kind of hear from you a little bit about, you kept mentioning about being in a space of like-minded sisters, and what that meant for you, and what the healing of that when it comes to your connection to Allah and your connection. You were saying it was quite healing for your own belief, but particularly with being around ladies, Muslim ladies. Like, everybody there were Muslim and ladies. Well, not everybody there was Muslim, but definitely everybody there we had all the facilitators were women. The space that was holding us was owned by women. Everything was just women, which I think is really powerful.
Yeah, Allah. Wow, honestly, like, I can't even explain in words. Like, my words don't even do justice to how powerful, like, having a female space is, like, for me, because, like, just being in the company of women and having this, like, space to express the feminine and discuss, like, feminine topics such as, like, the menstrual cycle, the womb, and just being able to, like, feel an array of different emotions with women. It was just absolutely amazing. Like, I just feel like we don't have enough female-led spaces, and I think that's probably why there's so many women that sign up to things like this, because there's such a demand, there's such a need. Like, we want to have these spaces, and like, my own experience, I feel like in many Islamic circles, like, the feminine is treated as something to be hidden or separated, like, segregated. And I think that Muslim women are always dealing with these kind of notions that, don't express yourself too much and don't be too emotional. And these labels, I think, like, spiritually stun us in so many ways.
Yes.
Because we have this lack of female space to express ourselves and to, like, be who we biologically are. Like, it's just, it was so empowering for me to be in this space with women, like, women from all different stages in their life as well. So we had, like, mothers, we had, sisters who were not married, we had grandmothers, we had, subhanAllah, it was just amazing to have this space and to speak and discuss, and it was just so powerful, like, subhanAllah. Like, I'm so grateful for Rabbani Project that they facilitated, like, this space for us. Alhamdulillah.
I think that's I think one of the things I always think about when people mention about the women, the ladies, is that, like you said, these are spaces that we've created, and these are choices we are choosing to be in a space of women only, rather than it being imposed upon us. And I feel like having that choice is so powerful, subhanAllah. Just out of interest, how did it, or did having a female only space, do you feel like that really helped when it came to connection to each other, of course, but then also when it came to, like, a lot of the work that you mentioned, some of the dhikr that was done in nature, some of the reflections of the names of Allah, the praying together, did that really, having a female only space, do you feel like that kind of really facilitated and enhanced, I think is the right word I'm looking for, the whole experience? Like
subhanAllah, like, I think that being in that space, like that feminine space with that kind of feminine energy, and being able to sing and to perform dhikr and to just be present and just pray, like, in congregation, there was nothing to worry about in terms of, like, kind of, normally, like, how we're always separated and all these things, or, we're worried about our voice, there's some opinions about the voice and all these types of things, like, just not having to worry about any of that, just being with women and connecting with Allah, praying, praising His name, like, that was just so good for, like, my connection, my spiritual connection. And I think, like, as I'm like growing, like, getting older as well, like, as a woman, as I'm a mother now, so these female kind of spaces and being with women, I feel like I need that now spiritually. And this was the first time that I was able to be in a space like that. So inshallah, I'll be coming on all the the
Yes.
future retreats, inshallah.
Yes, inshallah. Please do, please do. Alhamdulillah. I think it's really interesting that we went from and this I think is this is not a coincidence, but it's interesting that we went from speaking of the healing power of nature and the importance of connecting to nature, and how that very, very easily moved into a space of speaking about the healing power of connecting to women. I don't think that's a coincidence at all. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. And there's a lot of mercy in that. Whenever we think of women, we think of rahmah, the mercy. But I also really, one of the things that I know that was really explored, and one of the things I spoke about just before you came on, was this idea of when I was learning my craft, so to put it. When I was learning to be a herbalist, one of my teachers, which I will now refer to him as one of my teachers, is the herbalist I met in Ghana. And the way that he was in a space of gratitude when he was collecting the herbs, when he was around being in a space of using nature for shifa. I just want to know, and I know it was mentioned briefly as part of the retreat, this idea of Khalifa, because I feel a lot of the times when we speak about Islam and nature, and we speak about Muslims and nature, we tend to speak, the term Khalifa is used quite a lot. And this is, I'd love to hear what your understanding, or maybe that your understanding of Khalifa or stewardship has changed since the retreat or before the retreat, or maybe it just hasn't. Maybe you've always held with a particular opinion of what that is. So I just wanted to hear what exactly is your understanding or your connection or relationship to the term Khalifatullah, being stewards or representatives of Allah on earth.
The word Khalif to me is very much like a leader of the people, but in Islam we have this tradition of our leaders being the servants of people or serving people, and this notion I feel is like really powerful, that the leader serves, and it's not kind of this position of superiority or of absolute authority where we're supposed to fear this leader. This leader is very much amongst us, and like just going back to like how I mentioned at the start, like I personally feel that for Allah's appointed us stewards on this earth and custodians upon this earth, and I feel that that's why we need to heal our relationship with the earth and with nature, because if we can't be just in the way we consume and the way we live, then are we really stewards of Allah? Like, are we really being just on the land? It says in the Quran that tread carefully on the earth. And are we really doing that in the way we're living at the moment? Like, these are questions that we need to start kind of asking in our community, and inshallah, like, changing our habits, because if anything, Muslims should be leading in living a more green and environmental lifestyle.
Yes, exactly. I think that term, the Khalifa, I love the way you said that. I was trying to write it down, but my pen's not working. But I love the idea of the leader of the people are serving the people. They're servant to the people, and I think that's a very Islamic concept. And I think it's something when we look at a lot of the prophets, and we look at the awliya and the saints of those time, and even those present now, they are servants. They serve the people rather than and by serving the people, then you end up being a leader to them, because they're following you out of love and out of choice and trust. And I feel like if we extend that to our understanding of us being stewards of the earth, it's almost like we are in service to the earth, rather than in dominance. Like I think this idea of stewards is like we own the earth, and it's like actually we don't own anything. Everything is from Allah. But you did mention.
And I think when you feel as well that you own the earth, or you're entitled to the earth, then you can become very like abusive and destructive in your relationship with the earth. And I think that's kind of like how society is at the moment. And going into nature and having these spaces and holding these retreats and stuff like that, I think it heals us, because nature heals us so much.
It really does. SubhanAllah. I think the science now is catching up and telling us that actually spending at least, I think, half an hour to an hour in nature, they call it forest bathing or forest bathing, it's seen to be very good for blood pressure. It's been very good for depression and mental health conditions. It's very good for asthma. Believe it or not, it's very good for asthma. And in natural fact, they say that it speeds up any form of rehabilitation, even if it's kind of like from the broken bones or things like that. It speeds up just being in nature. So yeah,
wow, that's amazing.
100% nature is healing. And this is why I'm so happy that we've had this opportunity to have this conversation on our last show, because I really wanted to hone back into this idea of like nature is what we're talking about. We're not talking about herbs in bottles, and we're not talking about herbs that you find in your high street. We're talking about what Allah has given us. You mentioned, as we were talking about serving, Khalifa's serving, one of the things again is serving Allah through nature, if that makes sense. And I'm just really, how have you been able to kind of step into that, your service to the earth? Serving the earth, or serving the earth is serving Allah through the earth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think like everyone is able to do this in like different ways, like according to their lifestyle. But for me, I feel like my garden, because I have a garden space, and for me, like using that space to kind of support the local birds, and kind of not cutting our trees down, and creating these kind of natural habitats for the birds. Like subhanAllah, we have like really rare birds come into our garden, because we're in our area, we're like one of the only gardens who still have trees and have lots of greenery. So just kind of keeping them habitats intact, and also just having a bit of a relationship with the earth. So I try to like grow vegetables and kind of have a relationship where I actually touch the earth, touch the soil, and I find that so healing, like, and so peaceful. Sometimes I just love to like put my phone away and to just go in my garden and just do some gardening and just be away from technology. And I personally find that so healing and so kind of spiritual.
Yes.
But I think nature is our greatest asset. Like, you know, just from what you were saying, how there's so much healing in nature, and I think that we just need to have a kind of like a deeper appreciation for it.
One of the things you mentioned was about touching the soil, and it just, as you said it, I was like, Ya Allah. There's this beautiful hadith, and forgive me because I'm gonna like paraphrase this hadith, but please go and check it out. I'm sure you can find it on Google or in a book. And it speaks of one of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He went somewhere, and he didn't have any shoes on his feet. He didn't have anything covering his feet. And somebody asked him, "Oh, why?" And he said that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would sometimes recommend us to walk barefoot. And it reminded me of, again, recent studies is showing something called grounding or earthing, which is the importance of like standing on the earth or touching the earth, like skin to skin contact with the earth, and like you were saying with your gardening, touching the earth, and the amount of shifa that has to offer. I don't know the science completely behind it. I know it had something to do with electrons and something or the other, but again, it kind of just reminded me about everything is from the Prophet, everything is from Allah. The prophetic living is just, there's perfection, you know what I mean? Like there's it's perfection. And inshallah, maybe now that you've mentioned that and it's just come to light, maybe for the next retreat, we've spoken about the Quran, maybe the next retreat will look more into the seerah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because it's important for us to know this. I'm
sure there's so many like examples and lessons that we can benefit from.
No, I huge, and that makes me think I need to probably sit and kind of approach our teachers a bit more, because I don't know as much as I would like to, but there's a huge amount, alhamdulillah. Just as a kind of closing, I suppose, reflection. I kind of just want to hear some of your reflections when it comes to this particular retreat, and what. Maybe just like one reflection or one or two reflections as a closing reflection for those that are listening to us.
Wow. I think one thing that this retreat taught me is that we all find Allah through different ways and through different means. And I think that this retreat taught me so much about myself, and like me personally, I find Allah in nature, and I've just kind of integrated that into my week and my schedule now, and I very much make like my daughter like a part of that as well, because I want to kind of like teach her that this is part of the deen, this is part of Islam, and part of us being Muslims as well. So I think that was just so beneficial for me, and it's a life lesson really that I've learned from going on this retreat. And it just reminds me of this quote, and that you actually mentioned at the retreat, of how we find, some people find Allah in the textbook, some people in kind of in the temple, in the mosque, but kind of Allah is within us. Like finding Allah within us is so powerful, and that's something you can do in nature. When you're reflecting on nature and you're reflecting in these beautiful environments, you're so peaceful, and then naturally you think of Allah. So I think that was the biggest lesson for me, like going on this retreat, and I'm just so incredibly grateful. And I know all the sisters that have been on this retreat are so grateful for you and Sakina for just facilitating us.
No, alhamdulillah, it's been a big lesson, like sharing. I just, subhanallah, I feel really excited to kind of hear these words of reflection from you. Just before you go, actually, I was so Nafisa is a like I mentioned, she's an Islamic historian, which is a totally different conversation, which I'm so excited to actually sit and have with you, about the importance of telling history and knowing history. But that's that's another conversation for another time. But Nafisa also writes. She's an amazing, I want to say, writer. I don't want to kind of box you into a particular type, but a writer. And she wrote a really beautiful piece on her experience at the Green Dean retreat and just her own reflections about nature and things. It's on www. I'm going to say this wrong, but Bahath. Is it Bahath?
Yeah, Bahath.
Yeah, bahath.co.uk. And you'll be able to find her piece there. One of the things that Nafisa did mention, which I'm going to ask her now, was we did do a herbal tea workshop as part of us kind of really connecting with our own healers. And I've according to your article, which I'm just like, alhamdulillah, you went from being a tea hater to a tea lover, and I would love to know what kind of teas you're now incorporating into your
yeah, like to kind of like find out a more kind of detailed account of my experience of the retreat, you can kind of check out the article. It's on Bahath, the website Bahath. But yeah, I do mention in there like how we did like a herbal tea workshop on the retreat, and before that workshop, I was just not interested in herbal teas. Like I would probably only have them if I was like feeling a bit like sick or something, like a honey and ginger one or something. But honestly, like before, all I used to drink is like English tea, like caffeinated or coffee. And after this workshop, like the information you were telling us how tea is, like there's so much shifa in tea, and for different ailments or different emotions you can have different teas. That was just so mind-blowing for me. And since I came back, like I've gone to so many tea stores, bought so much loose tea, and every evening, me and my husband, we have herbal tea and we like experiment which ones we like. And it's become like part of our evening now. Like we put the kids to bed and then we have a herbal tea together, and it's just so nice, like to like connect with the tea and to like think about how we're feeling, like our emotions and stuff. To like sunlight. It's so good, but you've actually converted me.
Oh, I'm so glad. Alhamdulillah. It's like one down, another, I don't know however many to go. What's been your favorite tea? Just before I let you go, and thank you, but what's your favorite herbal tea? What's your new herbal tea or a herbal tea that you're experimenting with at the moment?
So I always like blend them. So I think like chamomile and hyssop is like one of my favorites.
Okay. Wow, I have it. That's a combination I've never tried. I'm gonna have to give that a go.
Yeah, I generally love chamomile anyway, but a lot of the teas I just mix them and I just try new things. But yeah, subhanAllah, it's like another world. Like when you go into the herbal tea world, there's so many things to try.
There is. I'm really glad, Nafisa. If that was like, if anything, I'm like, yes, there's a loose herbal tea lover. I mean, I'm not going to go on my my tea bag rant, which I think I give everybody who I meet. I'm like, tea bags. But I'm so glad that you're a loose tea convert.
Africa.
But thank you so much, Nafisa. I cannot thank you enough. It's been so, honestly, it's actually been really, really beautiful to, to read the article. So please, for those that are listening and watching, please do check out the article on Bahath, BAHATH.co.uk. But then also check out some of the other articles and some of the other work that Nafisa is doing on the Islamic History Project, which I think needs to have, like, go and check it out. This is something that we kind of tend to disregard a lot of the times, but please go and check it out. It's so, so important. But thank you so much, Nafisa, and inshallah, I'm really hoping that we will be sitting in nature together soon, sipping on some chamomile and hyssop tea in the near future, inshallah.
Oh, inshallah. Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, the honor is mine, the pleasure is mine. Like, just being able to speak about this I just feel happy just even speaking about it. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
That's the power of nature. That's the power that Allah has given nature, is to just make us happy in general. We're just like, just speaking about it, we're like, yes, alhamdulillah. But yes, inshallah, we'll catch up soon, and inshallah, have a good Eid. I feel like it's too early to be, saying Eid Mubarak, but I don't know. I feel like I should. So have a good Eid.
Oh, inshallah, and you, inshallah, have a beneficial last few days.
That's what I should have said. Have a beneficial last few days. That's what I should be saying. Inshallah. And please keep us in your du'as. And yes, inshallah, we'll speak to you soon if we're being well. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
So alhamdulillah, that was Nafisa Kara, who was a participant at the Green Dean Ladies Retreat in March. It's been such a, like Nafisa said, I've just been smiling throughout this whole entire interview, honestly. It's been so beautiful to hear those reflections of how nature, Allah has blessed us, and it just reminds me that Allah has said there's a cure for every illness apart from death, and in nature you will find all of those cures, all of those shifas. So for me, like I was saying, reminding us all that when we speak about herbal medicine, and when we speak about being a herbalist, and even when we speak about prophetic medicine and the foods that the Prophet had and the herbs that the Prophet had, like, it's so important for us to know that this is nature. It's not like a pill in a box, or it's not even just some herbal tea that you can buy from a local health food shop. This is the reason why these were being so useful, is because it's nature, because it was the way that our connection, our relationship to nature, and everything that Allah has put in it. So I'm really, really happy to have this opportunity to kind of end our final show with that reminder that if you want to seek shifa, the first place to go is to Allah, and in Allah you will find all shifa. And a lot of the times when you seek Allah, you end up going into nature, because it's so much easier to see the signs of Allah, to see the signs of Allah in nature, than it is to see it in the cities. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. If you are interested, and if it's something, I just want to thank all those that have been joining us for the past four weeks now. I pray that you have a really beautiful last couple of days of Ramadan. Please, please, please keep me and Ramadan FM in your du'as, and give them the support to kind of continue this amazing work. If you're interested in some of the things that we've been speaking about for the past couple of weeks, particularly about the nature work that we're doing, and the work in connecting to Allah and connecting to nature, the Green Dean, please do check out the Rabbani Project on Facebook. But then also, if you're interested in some of the work that I'm doing as a herbalist, then please do check out my Facebook page on the Herbal Blessing Clinic. I'm currently off Facebook, but as soon as I get back on, I'll be able to get back to anybody's messages. I'm also on Instagram, not at the moment, but when I get back onto Instagram, I'll be able to get back to any of the messages on the Herbal Blessing Clinic. Throughout the month of August and July, I will be doing a few different workshops for the family workshops, but then also specifically for children. And I'll be doing some herbal walks as well, particularly based in East London, but then also a few in North London as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, please do add us on Facebook and Instagram, and you'll be able to keep up to date with all the different work that I'm doing. And if it's something that you just want to have another chat or further information about some of the ways that we can use herbs, and you want to use herbs when it comes to some of maybe like on your healing journey as well, please do get in touch on info@herbalblessingclinic.co.uk. And I have a community clinic every third Wednesday of the month in Canning Town, and you are more than welcome to join me and book an appointment to come and have a conversation to see what we can do about using herbs and foods and diet and lifestyle changes. The community clinic, what I do with that clinic is normally I have a fixed price for the time for my consultation, but for the community clinic it's a sliding scale. So it's more about what is financially affordable for those that are attending, because I have a really strong belief that herbal medicine and shifa shouldn't be kept from anybody because they can't afford it. So I feel like it's really important that these things are being offered at a price that is manageable. But then also I'm very much with like, yes, we need to invest in our health, but I think that there's a balance of investing in our health, but then also being in a space where it can be part of our lifestyle. So again, may Allah bless you, and it's been good, alhamdulillah, we've enjoyed it, and I really hope that you have too. And inshallah, I pray and I know that you will sit in beautiful gatherings soon. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. السلام عليكم.
Your chosen projects. Call now on 0300